Hare Krishna. We're continuing from chapter 9, verse 8. Prakritim swam avastabhya visrajami puna puna bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritervashat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. This material world is a manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahat Tattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. So Mahavishnu has to enter into Mahat Tattva. Otherwise, actually what happens at the time of creation, Lord just by his vision, he looks at material energy, and material energy gets agitated. Actually, he impregnates the material energy by just his look, by looking at it. So all the souls which are supposed to get their births, they all are impregnated into material energy. So she has to give them bodies now. Now, Bhagavatam will read this. So creation starts, all the elements are formed, produced, then the devatas are produced. Everybody is there, but no creation happening. They are not able to work properly together. So then they all offer beautiful prayers to the Lord. Then the Lord enters himself. He enters into everything. So that is why Prabhupada is saying that he, as the first incarnation, he enters. He enters into this Mahatattva, into this whole material energy. And only then it becomes really successful in terms of whatever it's supposed to do. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. So then once all the elements become active and then Brahmanda is formed, then he enters as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom as Paramatma. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. So basically this is about Paramatma. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature. And as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. What are the activities of the material world? Wherever the jivas stop their activities, they will restart from there. That forms the activities of this material world. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved like our Darwin. And different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created. Because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. So if somebody wanted to be a bird, he can't wait for some other time to get his body. He has to get the body when the material world is created. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham, that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. Avasham means helpless. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again. And this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after creating different species of life, he has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities. And so the Lord does not become involved with it. So no connection means he's really disconnected. He's just given the facility. However jivas want to live, again, they will engage in karma. According to that, again, they'll get new bodies, and this is going on from time immemorial. 9.9. Nacha mam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasinavadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu asaktam udasinavat. 2 words. Asaktam is without attachment, without interest, without attraction. Udasinavat, as if neutral. Oh Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. So Krishna is really disconnected from this material creation completely. He's not interested. Except for his devotees in this material world, he has no other interest in this material world. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Person of Godhead has no engagement in his spiritual world. He is always engaged. And Brahma Samhita it is said, Atmaramasya tasyasti prakritya na samagamaha. He is always involved in his eternal blissful spiritual activities. But he has nothing to do with his material activities. Material activities are being carried out by his different energies. So Lord has outsourced it. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is mentioned here with the word utasinavat. Although he has control over every minute detail of material activities, he is sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of High Court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth. But still he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all the pain, gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. He is neutral, meaning he's not engaged to help somebody or to penalize somebody. No, he is just sitting. He's just given the facilities. He's given his energies. The energy is taking care of it. He's literally just not interested. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is stated, Vaishamya Nair Grinhena. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities, nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord doesn't interfere with them. Lord doesn't interfere with our free will. If we want to misuse it, we have the freedom to do it. And then we can't question, why did the Lord allow me to do this? He allows us to do it because we want to do it. Simple. 9.10. Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetunanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. He is aloof. He is separate. He is in his spiritual world. But still he remains the Supreme Director. He is given in charge to his material energy, but still he is the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in the different forms and species, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child. And similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature. And they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord. But he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti, where when there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person. Yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Person of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature without the superintendence of the Supreme Person of Godhead cannot do anything. Yet, the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. So this is an inconceivable statement, right? Without superintendence, nothing can happen, but he is detached. This is an inconceivable potency of the Lord. 9.11. avajananti mam moodha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature, the Supreme Lord of all that be. They just consider Krishna as some ordinary person. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Person of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality. As it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, he is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishvaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is secretary, and above him a minister, above him a president. Each of them is controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world, but Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Parama Krishna, and his body is Satchidananda, non-material. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man. But actually, his body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge, absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tamekam Govindam, your Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Satchidananda Vigraham, and your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary human, ordinary man. The scholar may, may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Moodha, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. If anybody is having any questions, please let me know, because it looks like very straightforward purport, so I'm not explaining anything. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy, as has been explained in several places. Mama Maya Duratteya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he's controlling the infinite and the finite, he's apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his Yogamaishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously. and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative text for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kilakarmani saharamena keshava atimartyani bhagavan guda kapatamanushaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being and so masked, kapatamanusha, so masked, he performed many superhuman acts, atimartyani. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in Bhagavatam, Babhuva Prakrita Shishu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now here again it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna in his plenary portion as Paramatma is situated in the moving and non-moving entities as the super soul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are 3 kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to the other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. So if you don't follow this, if we don't respect all living entities, it is Jiva Himsa and we don't make progress in Bhakti. We get badly stuck. We might be doing everything else. We might be very seriously practicing Bhakti in all aspects. But if we don't respect all Jivas, then we are stuck. It's very, very important that we actually respect all living entities. And normally our situation is that, if non-devotees, we don't respect them. Devotees who are, maybe not as in the same level as we are in Bhakti, we may not respect them. Other lower animals, birds, beasts, etc., we might not respect them. We might not respect people who are actually engaged in bad work. We might not respect so many ways, so many reasons, so many conditions because of which we don't respect people. We don't respect other jivas. And this is Jiva Himsa. If we do Jiva Himsa, we can't make spiritual progress. Because we have to see every body as the temple of the Lord and respect that person. Of course, this doesn't mean that we go and put our hand into the mouth of a lion. We deal with them appropriately according to the body they've acquired, but we respect everybody considering the presence of Paramatma. Especially with among human beings, we respect everybody. We serve the Uttama devotees, we make friendship with peers, and we show compassion to those who are below us in terms of bhakti. And this discrimination is required. Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. This discrimination is required. It's not that we have closed our eyes, but we don't disrespect anybody. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple? Prabhupada's logic, impeccable. Also, although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality, he is all pervading as confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Very nice long purport. Okay, last verse for today. Mogasha moga karmano mogajnana vicetasaha rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. Those who are thus bewildered or attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In the deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their future activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful, either because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and never will be successful either. Okay, along with those who don't accept Krishna Supreme as absolute truth, there are others, they deride personality of Krishna. So one type doesn't accept him, the other deride him. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheistic. That is deride. They are also not atheistic. So one is demoniac, the other is atheistic. As described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from the material body, there is no difference between God and himself. Aham Brahmasmi. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Because of delusion, meaning they become bewildered. So theistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of knowledge in the Vedic literature like the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads is always baffled. Baffling meaning they will read only what they want to read. But they will, and they seriously believe that they are actually God and that they are in illusion. But their attempt to become one with Krishna will also be lost. That also will fail. Because they are really in delusion. They're bewildered. Actually, they can't achieve it because that's not a fact. So whatever they read, they will go into the wrong direction. That is why they are demoniac or atheistic. They will never be able to come to the right path unless they get mercy of the devotee of the Lord. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form. The Vishnu Smriti clearly states, Yo veti bhautikam deham krishnasya paramatmanaha Sa sarvasmad bahishkarya shautasmarta vidhanatah mukham tasyavalokyapi sachelam snanamacharet. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. How sad. So those who are bewildered either become demoniac or atheistic and atheistic, and then they just fall down. That's what this verse is saying. Hopefully Krishna's mercy, we will not fall into this category, and we'll make progress towards him and achieve pure devotional service. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes, Mataji.
Hanji Prabhuji, in the previous verse, we are asked to respect everyone. It's all right, but Prabhuji, how do we deal with the offenders and blasphemers, people who are blaspheming the scriptures and devotees and hedonist kind of people? How do we deal with them? Personally, I feel we lose respect for them. Outwardly, maybe we show respect to them, but inwardly.
Yeah, I mean, definitely those people who are offensive to devotees, there is no need for us to be respectful of them. See, but one thing we should understand, right? Because that is the worst category, right? So see, this respect is for all other all other jivas who are not willingly being offensive, right? I mean, they're in ignorance. So what is the point in jumping up and down about somebody who is actually ignorant? Right, but those who are willingly blaspheming, and see, there are different categories. If they are just foolish, then we should still have compassion. But if somebody is aware of Shastra and like what Daksha did to Shiva is like very bad, right? Because he knew Shiva's position. Still, he thought he was in illusion. He thought his position was more superior. So if somebody who knows, who has spiritual knowledge, but due to improper understanding or some reason he is offending devotees, actually we don't have to do anything about with such people. We should not associate with them. We should not even bring their thoughts into our mind because it's just so contaminating. But of course, if we are having to face them, then we do what Hanuman did, right? Like, and Shastra says that, if there's a blasphemer, then there are different categories. Like Bhagavatam says, if somebody is a Brahmana, if somebody is a Kshatriya, he should try to kill. He should try to kill that person if he's a offender, blasphemer. If we cannot do that, if we are a Brahmana, we should try to defeat. If that also we cannot do, if you're Shudra, you should just leave the place. Best thing is to avoid such people, but because they are going to continue their ways, and the more we should understand also of course there should be somebody who will put them in their place, but we should also know whether we have that ability, we have that capability to do that. Otherwise, we take the case to the relevant authorities who can deal with it. Normally, my own personal policy is, unless I am absolutely, directly in have to deal with that person, I normally avoid, because anyway, Krishna will take care of such people. And unless we think that we are the only ones who can deal with it because of whatever situation we are in, unless it is that kind of a unique case, we should generally just try to be away from them. And it's a very complicated thing. See, because it's also important whether to see if we are confused or if we are in some kind of illusion. And many a times, Shastra is it's so intricate. It's not very easy for us to determine also whether that person is absolutely offensive or blaspheming or so like Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written one article on this offenses. How do I identify? How to recognize that it is offense? So it's unless we actually know the person very deeply, we cannot. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Sometimes,
It's better to ignore them.
yeah,
The
it's
best way to
easiest
avoid this.
thing, because
Right, right.
if in case we are on the wrong side by any chance and we end up doing Vaishnava Aparadha, then it's even dangerous for us. So yeah, if our handle control or knowledge of the Shastra is very, very good, and we are able to assess this person very clearly from all angles, and we determine, because I asked this question to one very senior devotee, he said it's very difficult to determine. So I asked him one question. I said, those who are not following Srila Prabhupada, as he told, or those who are not following scriptures, actually, I said, those who are not exactly following scriptures, how do we deal with them? So he said, it's very difficult to determine whether somebody is actually following scriptures or not. So, in short, he said, don't bother. Just, do your sadhana like that. So it's very difficult to determine. So we leave it to the, gurus and big swamis. They can deal with it appropriately.
Yes, sir. Thank
Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, I want to just also say that if we, we had one kind of incidents many years back in Bangalore temple when one very senior devotee, he said something about Prabhupada which sounded very offensive to few of us, and we took it up because it happened right in front of us and we couldn't just ignore. So sometimes we will be faced with those situations and we will have to deal with them accordingly. It's not that we are trying to run away from, being afraid of Vaishnava Aparadha, but at the same time we have to be very carefully tread. So it's very sensitive. So we need to be very careful. Okay. Anything else from anybody?
Like respecting is what actually, like, one thing is we should not do like offenses.
Sorry, Prabhu, what is your question?
Respecting is actually like exactly
Respecting. What do we mean by respecting?
different context.
That's what you're asking?
It's correct.
Okay. What do we mean by respecting? Means first thing is we don't have to have negative thoughts about another person. We don't have to be, human beings, we are always used to thinking about what the other person, what wrong that other person has done. So we should not do that. See, basically, bottom line here is that we should think ourselves, we should put ourselves in Trinadapi state. When we think about ourselves as being lowest, right, then we will not go and evaluate somebody or, generally like think that we are better than somebody else or that some person is right, wrong, etc. So it's good to be, humble. But like I said, it's important to discriminate when we have to associate with somebody. Like, for example, if somebody is like, even in this previous question, right, if somebody seems like on the, edge, we don't know whether it is offensive, we don't know whether it is right. In such cases, we avoid engagement with such people. We avoid associating with such people. We associate with only those people whom we are very clear are clean in what they're doing. But with others, we will not associate with them, but we will not disrespect them. For example, we will not talk about them to somebody else. We will not say that, this person did like this, he said that, he said this. or do anything like, for example, say we are, sir, I mean, cheap things, but we'll talk to person next to that person, but we'll not talk to him. These kind of like, we should basically respect, we should not have anything in our mind saying, this person is, like this or like that, because many a times it might be our illusion also. First of all, we have to be very clear where we stand. So generally we will treat that person with respect. We'll offer, if the person is initiated, we will offer pranams. Otherwise, we'll offer mental respect. That's what Rupa Goswami says, right? And we will just not do anything that will hurt that person unnecessarily.
Sure, Prabhu, I got it. Yeah. And one more thing. So,
Yeah.
so basically, like either friends or devotee friends, all right, non-devotee friends. So we will tend to give like more time to like devotees or similar side. Sometimes like won't give like much time or anything, right? So is it like disrespecting or?
Yeah. So okay, good question. See, now let me put it this way, right? So if somebody calls us, and he's calling us, as in he made a phone call, and we don't answer it intentionally because I don't want to talk to this person. Maybe once or twice it's okay. That person might think, okay, maybe he's busy, etc. We don't even return the call. Now all these are disrespecting, right? We should return the call. If somebody comes home, we should talk to them nicely. We should never make them feel anything, right? So normal social etiquette, whatever is required. It's not that we go out of the way to do any of this, but if we are encountering any of these, we should behave just like normal people. And really, I mean, literally, not behave as in not like some artificial, right? That is why I'm saying, I mean, even those who are non-devotees in our lives, who are very, I mean, sometimes it might be our parents, our brothers, sisters, etc. But we should respect all of them, like not in an artificial way. Not in an artificial way. We have to respect them. Because Paramatma is present in everybody's heart, except for offenders, blasphemers. Everybody else, they just be ignorant, and we should try to, we should not. They should not feel like we are rejecting them. It's very difficult. It's not easy. I mean, this I've tried for. I mean, I've been trying for many years to be like this. Finally, what I've realized is that eventually it is the level of compassion that we have towards jivas that will determine how we will deal with them. If we are still in early stage, then we are worried about our own selves. So where is the question of showing compassion to others? But as we make progress, we will understand that everybody has to get Krishna consciousness, everybody. And now we are not thinking about how to force it down that person's throat. We are now thinking, what is the best way of attracting this person to Krishna consciousness, right? So when compassion overrides everything else, then it's not very easy. It's not very difficult to deal with these things. But in the initial stages, we are so much about ourselves. It's me, my bhakti, my progress, etc., which is fair. I mean, it's not that it's wrong. At that stage, we find all these things very difficult, dealing with people who are not, conducive, or who's not favorable to bhakti, etc. We might deal with them with some contempt or some anger, frustration, etc. But as we make progress, we understand, oh, so much of ignorance, poor jiva. How can I help this person? And then these things will become more clearer in our head. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Or shall we close? Okay, fine. Thank you very much for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha paridhanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Gaura Bhaktarundi ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.